Hey friends, today on the Youth Ministry Sherpas Coast to Coast, we talk about aliens. Do they exist, and what do we tell our students when they ask questions about them? We also talk about highlights from summer camp, things we're looking forward to this fall, and Brock tries really hard to squeeze in a quote from Nacho Libre. It's episode 2. We are getting better at this, I promise, so let's get started. Welcome back to the second episode ever of the Youth Ministry Sherpas Coast to Coast, Youth Ministry with the windows down. Hey everybody, I'm Steve, and I'm here with my wonderful co-hosts Brock and Shannon. Hey guys.
Hello, Steve.
What's up? All right.
How are you?
Dude, so good.
Good.
It's a beautiful day.
Good to be back for our second ever episode. We're still figuring this out, but hey, I watched it back. I watched episode 1 back, and it wasn't a total disaster. It was okay. It was okay.
We are okie dokie.
Yeah.
I thought you two were awesome.
Aw.
Very kind, very kind. So yeah, it's August. It's getting back into youth group season. What are you guys excited about?
Oh, dude. School, now here in California, school, at least in our area, school started. Kids are back at school, and it is, what's the date today? This is August 7th, so this episode won't be airing for a couple weeks, but my goodness, that's early. But our kids, camp was just 3 weeks ago, and they're still on fire.
That's awesome. Good.
Like, we had Youth Sunday. Our kids 2 weeks ago owned the service. It was insane. This past Sunday, that was yesterday. It was like a normal church service, but our youth group is there, and they are like, our services end after the sermon. There's worship, and people can come up to people to get prayed for. Kids are just like Youth Sunday, coming up, getting prayed for, praying for other people. It's just so fun when that camp thing continues. It doesn't end immediately. And so I'm excited about our kids just feeling a part of the church. And even though it's not Youth Sunday, just owning the service, coming in hungry. Dude, come on.
Cool. That's cool.
That's funny because we went to camp at the beginning of summer, and we don't have school doesn't start for a few more weeks, actually, even though we're in California also, but different apparently counties. But we had some kids come back from a camp, not with us. They went, like, one kid went with a different church, and then he brought a bunch of them yesterday to church. And they were like, and we do outdoor church during the summer just because it's really beautiful. And they were like on the lawn, like a bunch of senior dudes, like huddling, going back and forth, like singing, like. And I was kind of looked over and was like, "That's so obnoxious, like you guys, like get over it. Like we know you all just went to camp together, but like we didn't. Chill." So then I went over and was like, "Hey, dudes. Let's focus that energy into taking this pop-up down. Let's go."
That's funny.
Dude, there's a fine line between awesome and obnoxious.
Yeah, absolutely.
My answer to the question is so much less spiritual than yours, Brock.
All right. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's August, so we don't actually kick back up until September for the youth ministry. So This is our downtime. I'm prepping for the fall, for the year. So we usually meet Sunday nights, and I don't have youth group on Sunday nights for 3 or 4 consecutive weeks, which feels like a gift.
Heaven.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yesterday I'm out on the golf course in the afternoon. I'm not thinking about writing a message or setting up chairs or anything else. I'm just enjoying life. I come home, hang out with my wife, who's not back at school yet. So yeah, I'm excited about summer not being over yet, although that's going to happen very, very soon.
Yeah.
Dude, I love those breaks.
Yeah, aren't they amazing?
Oh,
The perpetual, endless cycle of youth ministry. We can talk about that sometime, just how we need to build some breaks into the schedule for our own satisfaction and for our kids too.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wish school was starting because I'm still in the season where I'm home with my own young children.
Sure.
So I would be excited if school was starting this week, but 3 more weeks, I think. But what is exciting is youth group at our church launches in 2 more weeks, and I'm not in charge of it this year, and my daughter gets to be in it. So she
That's great.
actually, at Sunday school, she had her first youth group Sunday school yesterday, and she won the game, which was get an Oreo from your forehead to your mouth. And I was just like so proud. I was like, that's my kid. That's my kid.
You probably, as a youth worker, trained her in that game at home.
I mean, she's fire at dodgeball.
Really on top of her game. So
that's good.
That's the advantage of being a youth pastor's kid.
It's true.
Absolutely.
That's good. To get into today's topics a little bit, guys. This one came courtesy of Shannon, I believe. Right?
Probably, yeah.
Which makes me suspicious, Shannon, to be honest. Because it's weird. It's weird. Apparently, there is a report that's been released, or a conversation happening in the halls of the highest power in the United States, the halls of Congress, about how the government has known and is hiding information about aliens.
That's right.
Is that accurate? I read this over the weekend.
Some guy in some meeting said something, and everyone's flipping out. Okay.
Yes, which is so fun to think about. I mean, you guys, do you love alien movies?
Dude, come on. They're
Name
awesome.
one.
I love alien. E.T. Right?
Okay. There's a weird known fact about me. That was like my generation. I should have seen it. I've never seen E.T. I don't understand.
You would cry. Shannon, you would cry.
That's what I hear.
Tearjerker.
That's what I hear.
Guys, my life was forever changed by Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh,
explain.
I saw that as a kid. Well, when I was a kid, I saw that, and I was just transfixed by that idea. I had dreams about that movie. I still have dreams about that movie. That those ships landed in my front yard, for real.
Did you have the lunchbox?
No, I didn't have the lunchbox.
I had the lunchbox.
But
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know those old school metal lunchboxes? I had the Close Encounters one.
Wow, that's fantastic. There's so many good movies about aliens. You know, I just read War of the Worlds again. That's a good movie as well. Kind of the scary side of things. There's
I keep thinking about Independence Day with Will Smith. That was like my favorite for a long time.
Did you guys ever see? I think it's called District 8. Is that what it's called? Where there's like a camp of aliens. It's almost like a cross between an alien story and an immigrant story. I think that's what it's called.
That's
District 8, District 6, something like that.
Me either.
Yeah. Anyway.
So what do you guys think? What do you think?
Like whether they exist or not?
Yeah. And if they do, what does that mean?
Yeah. I think for a long time I did believe. I'm like Fox Mulder, you know. They're out there. The truth is out there. I think over time I've come to not believe, or at least not believe that they've been here. If life exists outside of Earth, that it hasn't been here. But I'm not sure.
I think I was kind of thinking about this, like, look, how in a vast universe as big as it is and as massive, we don't even know, right, to the ends, how is there not another planet like exactly like ours with people doing exactly what we're doing? I don't know. I mean, not like a copy of me, not a copy of me like doing the exact same thing, not like another dimension or something, but just there's probably intelligent life forms, if we can call ourselves that, somewhere else.
What do you think, Brock?
I think that if there are, I don't know, I'm 50-50. If there are, it seems to me as though the evidence is things like a pilot saw something with technology they can't explain. That's what I think the evidence is probably like. This is unexplainable. We don't know what this is. a plane was going, or a saucer was going this way, then all of a sudden on the dime, boom, went straight up. We don't have technology that does that. What was that? When I lived in Washington, D.C., this is a true story. And my daughter, if she were here, she would confirm this. We're driving in our Jeep. I have a Jeep, tops open, across Francis Scott Key Bridge. Steve, you know Francis Scott Key Bridge? Coming from the Jefferson Memorial, heading into Virginia from D.C. We're in the middle of that bridge. I'm not joking, and she saw it too. This rocket-type thing, the shape of a rocket, is probably 50 yards in the air. It flies straight overhead like this, across, making no noise, no flame coming at the end like a rocket would, just silent across. And both Danson and I were like, what was that? Like, and this is DC, so I'm assuming they have technologies. The Pentagon's right there by that bridge.
That's why they were there. They were checking out the Pentagon.
Dude, but that's an unidentified flying object. I believe in those. Yeah. I saw one.
Yeah, I mean, that you're 100% belief then. Come on, what is this 50-50 stuff?
Yeah,
you
really
saw it.
But they're an octopus-looking thing like Independence Day, manning that spaceship. I don't know.
All right.
Oh man, it's such a fun topic to think about, but Shannon, I think the reason you asked the question is because it's tied to the bigger question of how do you respond to students with kind of the out there questions that we really don't have answers to.
Yeah,
what do we do with those?
I have a friend who was like, if there are aliens, like, are they included in God's grace?
Right,
and how do they fit into script? Like just going deeper and deeper on these questions. And I'm like, if an adult is asking those questions, our students are also asking those questions about lots of topics, not just aliens.
Sure. Have either of you guys ever had a student ask you specifically about extraterrestrial life?
It's like the new dinosaur question. Back in the day, every kid, every year, like you start talking about theology or whatever, creation. What about dinosaurs, though? And it's like their reason to not believe in the scriptures are dinosaurs.
Right.
The alien question is like the new dinosaur. Oh, well, what about aliens, though? If it's true, if there are aliens, then obviously the scriptures are wrong. And I don't think that we have to live in that black and white world.
Yeah.
So I think embracing mystery might be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I answer like, we know that God can do and has done anything, and all. And so why would aliens be outside of his realm of creation, or why would dinosaurs be outside of his realm of creation? And
yeah, I think in terms of, the scriptures reveal everything that God wants us to know, but they don't reveal everything God knows. Mm-hmm. And so there's so many things that we're not privy to understand that if we were to learn of them would not discount the truth of God. So I think that way about a lot of topics, and especially when it comes to things like the universe, the size of the universe, the physics of the universe, the things that just blow my mind that people can't even begin to comprehend, and we don't understand those things, Right. We'll never understand those things. So I'm okay with that. To me, that makes God even bigger. That would probably be my response. If it turned out to be true, there would be a reason that God had for that, and it would just be outside the realm of what he's previously revealed to us.
But not outside of his plan.
No,
obviously.
Or the realm of possibility.
I was reading an article about Constantine, and during the time of Constantine, there was rumors that there were other humans possibly on the other side of the world. And this seemed unfathomable. And then people started questioning whether the gospel reached them. What did that mean?
Right.
And it was a very similar conversation that they were having, that I don't think humans could exist on the other side. Like, there's a letter written to Constantine about this from a priest saying this cannot be true. So even the fear of that we're seeing here, or the belief that if this is true, then that can't be true. Both
Yeah.
things can't be true at the same time. It's an
Yeah.
interesting thing that history tends to repeat itself.
Brock, when you say the other side, do you mean the top and the bottom of the earth, since the earth was flat? Or do you mean like across the oceans? Because so many things have been revealed over the centuries that people believed with all their hearts and thought that the scriptures taught, and proved later to be untrue. Things like the earth being the center of the universe and things like that.
Yeah, Galileo went to prison
Right.
because he said the earth was round.
Right.
Can you believe
So-
that? Because that didn't fit.
So maybe, just maybe, aliens fit into a category like that.
I think so.
Or maybe not.
That could be that could be cool. Depends on what type of aliens they are, but
It's true.
I think Shannon
If they're-
could be the first alien evangelist.
There you go.
all right. I'm
Raise
just
money
following.
to preach the gospel to aliens in their
Shannon,
own native tongue.
If they look like that alien in Signs, you probably should avoid that. Just let that go.
Water.
That dude was scary. Yeah, get
All
a
right.
glass of water
Get
and
near
don't worry
water.
about his eternal soul.
Okay. All right. I'll turn
But
away.
anyway, let's move on to our next segment.
All right. You don't want to keep talking about aliens. We can move on.
So we had a great summer, lots of activities, but one of the core activities for many youth ministries is that legendary thing known as summer camp.
Yes.
Yes. You guys had summer camp. How was it?
Shannon, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a year ago at this point, but it was really just 2 months ago or something like that. This summer was really an interesting summer for me, as our summer camp was while I was handing the baton off to our new youth pastor, actually, while we were there. I'm taking a little break from the traditional youth ministry setting here at the church and sort of diving into youth ministry in some other ways. But so I got to pass the baton while at camp. But camp is like my favorite. I was saved at camp. You know, it's where I first encountered Jesus. It's where I met my husband, was also at camp. And we had a really good week, and I got to know our new youth pastor really well. I think it was a great place to actually hand the baton off. I did all the work to get us to camp, which is maybe my least favorite. But for him, for a new guy, he got to sort of come in and just build relationships while we were at camp. And I'm really seeing the fruit of that, because he has got this group of students who are just on fire for a youth group, and he's created a great relationship with them, and they've been sticking together for the rest of the summer. So it was a good place to bond with students and get to know them.
Did that feel like a full circle moment for you? You know, having camp be such an integral part of your own experience, and then your experience as a youth pastor, and then handing it off.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's got to be a lot of emotion in that,
Yeah.
good and bad, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I love that God's like that, right? He takes something in our life and he'll use it repetitively sort of to speak to you. And camp has been something like that for me. And so it was the perfect place. We go out to Catalina Island, so a little island off the coast of California, and it's beautiful. And you just have space, I like to say, to process. And so it was a good place to both experience the joy of youth ministry and for me to process the sorrow and not knowing I won't be in the day-to-day of it at the church when we got back. So, yeah.
Yeah, I bet there's all kinds of emotions in you.
Are you trying to stir them out?
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking about like the excitement of the next phase, the morning of leaving that behind, satisfaction that this new person is doing well, connecting. There's a lot of thoughts there. I can imagine.
Yeah, but it gave me a lot of confidence to see how he would, you know, interact, work with the students at camp. Like, to me, it's like, if you can do well at that, like, it gives me a lot of confidence in you. And so, um, it was good. And we also just had cool stories of students at camp, right? We had these twins that came out who live most of the year with their mom, and then spend their summers with their dad out here in California. And they came to camp, and then at the campfire on the last night, they shared little testimony, and they said, "We did not know we were going to a Christian camp. We thought we were just going to a camp for fun." Right, which I was like, oh, whoops, you know, I didn't know that that's what but they were like, we had so much fun, and we just are so excited to start pursuing a relationship with Jesus. And I was like, that is
awesome.
camp. I want you to walk away with both, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I
Yeah.
love that. It's so funny when a kid realizes, you know, just like, wait a second, is this a religious thing?
Yeah.
I love that's happened to me quite a few times with students. They're like, wait, what?
Totally.
My parents didn't say that.
Yeah. My friend invited me.
I thought I was going to lacrosse camp. I'm so confused.
Oh, it's so funny.
So
I
good.
one time went to a church, and it ended up being a Jehovah's Witness church. And about halfway through, I was like, what is this feel? What is this? This is different. All right.
Brock, you guys went to camp too?
Yeah, we went to camp. It was kind of a traveling camp. So we first went whitewater rafting. And that was insane, dude. Taking kids whitewater rafting was a blast. We rented a church facility, which is a whole other story, to have evening programs a couple nights. Then we came back and went to Forest Home and ran our own camp at Forest Home. And it was exhausting. It's the most exhausting camp I've never come home that tired. And I don't think it's just because I'm getting older, although that probably contributes. But I mean,
Yeah.
it was those moving kind of camps where there's just so many different pieces to it, is just emotionally, physically, spiritually exhausting.
Yes.
But I've also never seen God work in this way with these kids. This has been a slow, it's been a long journey of, when I first started, my wife and I would come home at night and go, man, I don't know if we have a kid yet who has a spiritual bone in their body. Like,
oh my,
there isn't a spiritual hunger with these kids yet. And so we really worked hard to instigate hunger, to have an appetite for more, to not be satisfied with so little. And so it was a culmination at camp where we felt like, okay, this is amazing. And when you start seeing kids unprompted going and praying for their friends and ministering to their friends, it was like, oh, this is now they're getting in on the good stuff of the faith, where they're not just receiving, but they're a conduit, they're a vessel God's using. And that's when the faith gets fun. And so for me, camp was exhausting. It was satisfying. And to see our kids longing for more and dreaming together about our group and what we could do is super fun. From camp, I actually, a couple of weeks ago, decided to start a high school internship program for those who are interested in ministry. And so we've had student leadership, but this would be an even deeper level of, you know what, I'm feeling maybe a calling. I'm not sure. And this would be like a deeper level thing that I'm really excited to launch in September.
Mm-hmm.
So is that where you talk them out of ministry, or you're going to talk them into it? I'm just kidding.
Both.
I'm just kidding.
Hopefully both happens.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm curious, Brock. You said you wanted to create this hunger within them and this longing. What's one thing you practically did at your camp for that?
Well, it was all prior. So it's work prior to that.
Okay.
Probably more than a year's worth, but let's just talk about a year. We were super thoughtful with what was taught, with experiences that were offered, and the student leadership really helps, because what would happen in student leadership, we would want to transfer over and have kids lead at youth group. And so it was just a lot of investment. It was evolution, not revolution, slow, subtle shifts in kids' thinking and their experiences. Giving them opportunities to lead is so key. Ministry has changed my life more than anything else. So that means we got to move from youth ministry to youth in ministry, and give kids those opportunities. And when we make those transitions, those shifts in our youth groups, it can really set kids up for deeper level opportunities. And so those are the shifts we made prior to camp. We also ran nights of prayer the week before camp. So every night we would gather for prayer. So by the time we got to camp, our kids were on fire. So we just did some little things that instigated hunger, longing, lots of kid testimonies all year long, wherever they were at, trying to get kids to be in a place where they could actually be used by God among their peers.
It's good.
Fun stuff, though, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Steve?
Yeah, our camp feels like years ago. It was back in June. Since then, I've already been to South Africa with students on a mission trip, so it does feel like a long time ago. But for us, summer camp's still pretty new. We used to do this conference every other summer with the Evangelical Free Church, and we stopped doing that because it got really expensive for us. So we started looking for a camp, like the real camp experience, with a lake and cabins and all that kind of stuff. And we found one in Kentucky that we've been going to now this was our third trip, I think. So it's about a 10-hour trip for us by bus. So there's the whole bus time that students have, and then the camp experience together. So for us, I think it was about, my purpose for camp was to make it an affordable activity that could include a lot of kids from the church, because the other had become more exclusive. So this is much less expensive, relatively speaking, and we offer scholarships and stuff. So we can take a lot of kids. And so we have the core kids who you know are going to be there. And our kids are already pretty fired up for Christ. And then you got kids who kind of on the fringes that we want to bring into that community. And so for us, I think that's what camp's purpose was. One cool story, we had a kid who we had sold out camp. We were completely full. We had a kid who canceled literally the day before we left. Right? This happens, of course.
Yep.
Always.
She canceled because she found out her friends weren't going.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Right? The parents had already paid for camp. Yep. Friends aren't going to camp. Why? They must not be the closest of friends if she didn't know that 3 weeks prior, because deadline was a month ago, right? And she canceled, so we have an open spot. So we had one kid on the waiting list. We tried to contact her. She's out of town. So one of my youth leaders had revealed about a certain family. It would be great if the younger sister could go, but there's some relationship drama, and she doesn't want to go. Anyway, I chased down that family at the 11th hour. That kid went to camp.
Come on.
Had a blast. I told her her camp was free because we weren't going to give the money back to the other people. They canceled for good reason, right?
That's right.
And so, yeah, this kid got a free camp, and now she's a freshman. She feels plugged in back into her friend group, and I'm hoping that produces some long-term fruit in her life. So, yeah, Camp's
Dude,
got all kinds of stuff like that.
dude, that's so.
Yeah.
I have one question for you, Steve, from your story. Those 10-hour bus rides. I'm guessing you watched movies,
Well, yeah. So I had
and
to
I'm
drive the
wondering
van,
if you
but
watched.
yes, they were watching movies on
Did
the
you
bus.
watch Nacho Libre?
Oh,
You know, it's funny because we're going to talk about this. We decided to change the topic today, but they did watch a bunch of like old Barbie. Is there like a Barbie cartoon or something? Am I right about that?
I mean, there's so many different Barbie
Yeah.
iterations.
Well, they were watching that on the bus.
Oh, that's
So,
funny.
Yeah.
Was that because your kids were excited about the Barbie movie?
No, it's because that's what we
just
found at the dollar store.
Coincidental? Oh, okay.
No, Brock, I don't believe they watched Nacho Libre, although that would certainly be appropriate for a town.
That's a youth ministry fail right there. But I'm not
Probably
making
so.
any judgment.
I
Agreed.
was pushing for Napoleon Dynamite, but you know,
People don't
That's just
think
my taste.
people think I don't know a buttload of crap about the gospel, but I do. I had a hard time getting that line out.
you were just. How long did you take to prepare that?
That's why it had a hard time going from here to the. It took a little while.
You've been thinking about delivering that line since before I asked you to be a co-host.
Yeah, that's what I think. He's like, how many times can I quote Nacho Libre in our podcast? It's probably a game he has with
I
himself.
haven't even been invited to be part of yet. I just need to say this somewhere. Well, let's move into our next segment, kind of coming out of camp. What is it that we're excited about going into the fall? Shannon, how about you?
Well, you know, camp is a hard transition, right? You see them on what we call the mountain high, quote unquote, or we're not on a mountain where we go. But, you know, it's that coming back from camp, and you don't want them to lose that fire, that hunger that Brock said he's worked all year and he saw really flourish at camp. And so it's like, what are the things that we do to continue to keep that going, I think is the question, right? Like, what are we excited about? And so it's interesting.
Maybe we shouldn't shut down youth ministry for the month of August.
Well, is that what you do, Steve? You just shut it down? You're like, come back from camp, done.
We focus on some student leadership stuff, but yeah.
Well, and that's what it is, right? You take those students who are, you know, ready to run, and you get them going, right? So, I mean, it's an interesting fall for me because, like I shared, I'm not going to be in the trenches, but in my role at the church now, I get to get the students who are ready to go to the next level plugged into serving in the church. And so I'm excited because, in a strange way, not being their youth pastor, I feel like it's gotten more relational anyways. Like, I don't see them quite as often, and so when we see each other, we're excited and we go deeper. And so now I'm looking for ways that I can get them really plugged in to how they can serve in, you know, quote unquote, the big church or whatever area that they want to. But that's cool. What I'm looking forward to in the fall.
How about you, Brock?
You know, I tend to spend time with two different kinds of kids. The first is the crisis kid. And that has been a growing percentage of kids in recent years, especially with levels of anxiety and addiction, different fears that kids are carrying, and that becoming an epidemic of sorts. And so there's a lot of, hey, can you get with my son? Can you get with my daughter? Or I see something happening, something blows up, and you go. As a youth worker, a lot of times we are first responders. And our job is to get them to the right people, the right situation, the right help. And so that's the first category. And that has been primarily the kid I have been spending time with the last couple of years. There's a second category, and that's the kid. So I get out of the crisis situation. I pick my head up and I look, and there's a kid right here, right next to me. And that's the second category. If the kid you can't get rid of. The kid who's like, hey, can we meet at Starbucks? Can we meet at a coffee house? Can we get together? And they are pursuing you. So the first group, you're pursuing them because they aren't doing well. They're struggling. Something's going on. Something's blown up. And the second category is that kid you can't get rid of. Can I get with you? Can we hang out? And that is what's happening in our youth group now is that group is exploding, and we've modeled it where it feels normal for a kid to go to their small group leader and go, hey, can we get together? Can we so we have this this really good soil finally of a broad group of kids who are hungry for an adult's investment. Adults somehow have transitioned from being the enemy. You can't help a kid who thinks you're the enemy.
Yeah.
You can't do anything with that kid. They are not open soil. They're not good soil. But when the transition happens, where they go, oh my gosh, that's Shannon is my friend. Shannon, I would love for her to invest in me. Shannon believes in me. She sees me. I can trust her. I want to get with Steve. Steve, I want to grow. And they are pursuing. Now, all of a sudden, dude, and we have a lot of those kids right now, and it's been a growing thing for the past, I would say, 6 months. I would say since January, honestly, something shifted, and it was a lot of grueling, exhausting work. Before January of this year, I was actually questioning if I still had it. Ministry had gotten so difficult, and I felt like I was spinning my tires. Here I am writing books on youth work. I can't do it anymore. Like, what is like? Maybe I've aged out.
The only thing to do is start a podcast.
Yeah, I need to get on a podcast and just talk about old stories.
Yeah.
But it was just the grueling work of youth work in today's world. It's just hard. And
part of that was probably the fact that you were also, you're 3 years into this new church plant, new youth ministry. So you're still creating the environment and the culture of all of it. You didn't have an existing thing that was going to carry forward. So
no, there was no culture. It was just, and to build a culture takes time. Churches don't know this because they just cycle through all these youth workers. So they never get a great culture. They just off with their head. Next youth worker. So finally, January hit and a shift happened at winter camp. And it was like, all right, it's getting fun again. Maybe I can hang in here a few more years. And so, dude, I'm excited about going into the fall because we've got some hungry kids. They were starving before and they didn't know it. And now they know it.
It's good.
Steve, did you pick up on some underlying issues with the off with their head comment that we maybe need to circle back to in another podcast?
Youth workers getting fired?
Yes.
We did talk about maybe
I feel like he had some feelings.
Yeah.
I have feelings.
Yeah. We'll come back to that in the future.
Let's do it.
For the fall, this sounds shallow, Brock, compared to the deep profundities you just dropped on us. But I really like planning the events and the momentum of the fall. I really enjoy this season of kind of creating what's it going to look like this school year, just in terms of flow and schedule and emphasis. And I still enjoy that part of youth ministry even after all these years, because I think the deeper part of that is what it allows me to do is really focus on the culture, the creation of the culture, right? Because the events to some extent will drive that culture. Our leaders, our volunteers will drive that culture. The themes that we choose will drive that culture for the year. And I always just look with like great optimism and expectation to that and what that's going to mean. So yeah, I love this time of year for that reason. We have such well-established leadership and passion and strategies and structures. And every year we get to put a new, beautiful, pretty, creative veneer on it and welcome kids into that. The other thing is every year, I say this to our leaders and staff, every year there's going to be kids who we've never seen before, who by the end of this school year will think, I can't imagine the youth ministry without them. A friend's going to invite them. They're going to come and get plugged in. We're actually celebrating one of those in an interview in the services on Sunday from this past year. And I love that idea that there's going to be a kid that I haven't even met yet that I'm just going to think is fantastic. And they're going to come and get plugged in and be part of this ministry like no other. So that always really excites me about the fall too.
That's
Guys,
so good, Steve.
There's so much hope.
There's a lot of hope.
There's
Yeah.
so
a lot
much
of
hope.
Yep. There's a lot of good things happening.
I love that mentality, Steve, and I think that's probably one of the reasons you've been able to stick with it so long is like looking at the things you know are going to happen that year that are hopeful. You know you're going to get some new students this year, and the excitement behind that, being able to see towards, the future. So good.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, it's been fun. Episode 2. We're doing okay, guys. We're doing okay.
Is anyone stuck with us to this far?
I don't know. We'll see. Shannon's got a quote that she's been ready to drop again.
Oh, smash that subscribe button.
Come on.
Like and subscribe.
I think, Shannon, if you were 20 years old today, just coming into this
I am
stage
20
of
years
life-
old.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Do you think you'd be an influencer?
Oh. No.
No?
I mean,
Okay.
that's hard. I'm reading into who I was when I was 20 years old.
Right.
Now, and my personality, no, definitely not.
We've got these brothers. Their names the Dobre brothers. Have you guys ever heard of them? They're YouTube influencers. I'd never heard of them before until we saw these 2 Ferraris racing down the roads near our church. And they would come in our parking lot, brightly colored, one's bright green, I think the other one's orange or something, and they would go around our parking lot where are these cars coming from? And it turns out that these at the time they were teenagers, they're now 20-somethings. The Dobre brothers, they live 2 miles from the church, and they're mega influencers on YouTube. They do these stupid videos, and I was old man mode, how do people make money from this? This is ridiculous. They're not producing anything of value, and they're millionaire teenagers driving Ferraris. It's not fair.
It's crazy.
It's not fair. Anyway, that's my rant for the day.
Wait, aren't we trying to become influencers right now? Isn't that what this is?
That's true, but we're not.
We're going to
rich
make
from it.
millions, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Dude, all the sponsorships are insane that we're having to. We're turning away sponsors.
Totally.
Well, we will be back with another episode. Episode 3 coming out soon. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, YouTube. We would love to hear from you if you have any suggested topics for us to talk about. Let's be in conversation. All right, guys. Till next time. It's been fun.
Bye.